Hey Math 8, how you doing? It is Monday, December 7th, and we are going to go over adding and subtracting numbers in scientific notation. And I'll review scientific notation in a little bit, and I will maybe talk about like terms again a little bit. But the main thing for today, the new thing for today, is adding and subtracting numbers in scientific notation. All right, let's get started. And all right, here we go. So we are going to label this Notes, Section 5.4, and the topic is adding / subtracting numbers in scientific notation. All right. So I would compare this to something you already know how to do, and that is adding and subtracting like terms. Like if you have 3x squared plus 5x squared, I hope you guys know this. You can just add the coefficients together. You can add these together because they are like terms. They have the same variable, same exponent. And all you do is add the coefficients and get 8x squared. Similarly, if I had 3x squared plus 5x to the third, well, I cannot actually add these together because they have different exponents. They are not like terms. So this is actually your answer right here. Well, adding and subtracting numbers in scientific notation is similar to that. If I had 3 times 10 to the 5th plus 5 times 10 to the 5th, and I wanted to add those numbers together, because they have the same exponent, just like over here, because they have the same exponent on 10, they're easy to add together. You just add what we call the a values together, and you would get 8 times 10 to the 5th. And again, the exponent does not change, just like when you're adding like terms together. It's very similar. However, if I had 3 times 10 to the 5th plus 5 times 10 to the 6th, I cannot add those together because they do not have the same exponent. However, in this case, I can change one of them and make it work, unlike over here. So that's the big thing we ought to cover. All right, so the thing is to add or subtract numbers in scientific notation, one must have same exponent on 10, and 2, if not, change it so they do. Right? So let me do an example. If I had 7.2 times 10 to the 8th plus 5.1 times 10 to the 9th, it would seem like I cannot add those together because they do not have the same exponent on x. But unlike variables, unlike up here, where there's nothing you can do about it, when you're talking about numbers, there is something you can do about it. And I'm going to take the smaller exponent and I'm going to change it to make it bigger. I'm going to change this 10 to the 8th so it is 10 to the 9th. And that's not too hard to do. So I'm going to keep this number the same, but the 7.2, let's see. So remember, when numbers are in scientific notation, the exponent and the decimal, they are tied together. When you change one, you have to change the other. When you move the decimal, it changes the exponent. Or when you change the exponent, it moves the decimal. Since I am making the exponent 1 bigger, I need to make the number 1 smaller. They always need to go in opposite directions to balance each other off. So since I moved the exponent 1 spot, I'm going to move the decimal 1 spot. And since the exponent got bigger, I need the number to get smaller. It's going to become 0.72. Right? I took the decimal, I moved it 1 spot to make the number smaller. And now my numbers are in scientific notation, but let's make a little note of that. Exponent got 1 bigger. Decimal 1 spot smaller. And now that my numbers do have the same exponent, I can add them together. And I'm going to get something times 10 to the 9th. And I just need to add these two numbers together. 5.1 plus 0.72. Well, that'd be 5.82. And my number is now done, and it's in scientific notation. All right? Let's try another type of example you're going to see on the homework. This time we're going to add 6.2 times 10 to the 2nd plus 850. So in this case, the 850 is not in scientific notation. I'm going to have to change 850 into scientific notation before I can add these together. So I'm going to keep the 6.2 times 10 to the 2nd, but I'm going to add the 850, or I'm going to change the 850 into scientific notation. So let's see, I'm moving the decimal 2 spots. Remember how to do that? Plus, you're going to practice that on the homework again. This would become 8.5, and because I moved the decimal 2 spots to make it be between 1 and 10, the exponent needs to be 2. And now, my numbers are in scientific notation, and the exponent is the same. So I can go ahead and add these together, and all I do when I'm adding numbers together is add the coefficients, or what we call the A values, together. 6.2 and 8.5 added together is 14.7. So that's a pretty good answer. But that number is not in scientific notation, is it? So I need to put it in scientific notation by moving the decimal 1 spot, so that that part of the number is between 1 and 10. Now remember, when the decimal moves, the exponent changes, and they must go in opposite directions. So as the number gets smaller, 14.7 became 1.47. To balance that off, the exponent must get bigger. And there's my answer, 1.47 times 10 to the 3rd. All right, let me show you one more thing, and we'll be done. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do 5.21 times 10 to the 8th minus 1.7 times 10 to the 7th. All right, this time it's a subtraction problem, but adding and subtracting work the same, and the exponent must be the same. However, in this one, I want to show you what you could do. You could do this for all these if you really wanted to. All right, I want to show you what I showed you the other day, and that is that your calculator has a mode. Move this up where you can see the buttons a little better. It has a mode for scientific notation. Let's hit the mode button. And I want to go down here to the second row, and I want to put this thing in science mode. So I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm in science mode. And I'm going to hit clear. Now look, I could type this number into my calculator. Make sure if you use your calculator, which sometimes is faster and sometimes is slower, but if you use your calculator, make sure you type it in like it looks in the problem. Use the parentheses when you're doing scientific notation. This would be parenthesis 5.21 times 10 to the 8th power. And make sure I use the arrow to get out of the 8th power then, before I hit the parenthesis button, minus parenthesis 1.7 times 10 to the 7th. Again, let me get out of the exponent here before I hit the parenthesis, and then I hit enter. And my answer is 5. Yeah, let's answer it right there, I guess. No, I don't want to answer it there. I'm going to put it over here. Equals 5.04 times 10 to the 8th power. And look, my calculator will do that for me, right? Now, just to show you that you could do this on paper almost as fast, again, since these do not have the same exponent, I'm going to change this one so it has an 8. Oops. So I'm going to make this 10 to the 8th power, but when the exponent goes up one spot, the number needs to get smaller by one spot, and this would be 0.17. And I'll keep this one the same. And so now these have the same exponent, and I can subtract them and keep the same exponent. And I would just do 5.21 minus 0.17. And 5.21 minus 0.17 is 5.04, because the 0.21 minus the 0.17 is 0.04. And I get the same answer. But I'm in scientific notation, and maybe I could do that faster without the calculator, but I want to make sure you know how to use your calculator. All right, so tonight you'll be adding and subtracting numbers. You'll also review multiplying and dividing numbers, where you just add or subtract the exponent, right? And you'll be plotting some points on a coordinate plane again. All right, good luck. See you tomorrow.